Yep. All right. I'm going to call to order the Personnel Finance Committee meeting for Tuesday, August 4th. Good morning and welcome everyone that's here with us this morning. I'm going to recognize our city manager who's going to give us a quick update about our live stream and videos.
Thank you, Councilman Thrift. So at the request of council, we are currently streaming all of our, starting today, we're streaming all of our council meetings. The committee meeting and the briefing meeting will be streamed live on YouTube directly. There's a little bit more control that we have on that, and because especially the committee meeting is so long, it will be served up on a per committee basis. It won't be one long 4-hour meeting. It'll be a series of meetings. The comment section is turned off so that the public will not be able to comment on the committee meeting or briefing meeting. What that does require, though, is it's going to require that staff have to come to the front. So if staff is not already here, when you ask a question, we're going to have to get them up here. The other thought I had is we can pass a microphone. So that's something we can try out today. We are broadcasting today, but we did not tell anyone that we're broadcasting today, so we can figure out any glitch type stuff. We are going to be projecting the information that you have up there. We'll also, we're going to use some of the tools we have here that we don't normally use that will hopefully make it easier for people following along if they want. Shouldn't change what you're seeing, but may change what the public sees if they tune in. I would recommend that the council, this is your choice, but only the council that are in session as committee should have their names shown, so that people understand that that's the committee, and then everyone else is part of council, but they're not in that committee. Or we can come up with some other way to make it clear who's in the committee and who's not in the committee, because we're not going to record votes like we do at regular council meetings, so it may be confusing to people that not everyone's voting. I will say that this is taking staff time. There's someone has to monitor what we're doing in here, especially because we go into closed session or we potentially have a break for a recess. Those things have to be monitored. So while they're trying to do other work, they also have to keep an ear and a machine near them so that they can see texts, and I can get texts. This is going to be a learning process to do this, and all I ask is that for the most part, you do your best to ignore the fact that you're being recorded for posterity in that manner, because this is the meeting where the sausage is made for council decisions. And it's the place where we have the freest flow of information on the items that we have, and we have a lot of items every month. So, this is where that's going to take place. So you please need to be active regardless. As far as the reality is that there are ideas that get thrown out in this meeting that don't become ordinance or don't become policy, but those ideas still need to come out, even if it's a crackpot idea, because it may spur something else that is the policy that gets used. So you have to keep that in mind. If you stay quiet, then nobody else hears your good idea, and we can't build a better policy or a better ordinance, as the case may be. So I strongly ask you to continue having that conversation amongst each other when we're discussing items as necessary. and we'll do the best we can to keep it somewhere between the guardrails.
Perfect. Thank you. And if you'll remember, council, if you go to speak, just turn your microphone on so that they can pick up your voice on the live stream. Thank you for getting all that situated for us, Michael. Our first order of business is approval of the minutes for the Personnel Finance Committee meeting from June 2nd, 2026.
I'll move that we approve our minutes.
Second.
Thank you. Those have been approved. I'm going to deviate from our agenda just a little bit since our presentation number 5 here from Electus Governmental Affairs. Sam's here, so I want to go ahead and move that to the top of our agenda. Mayor York and I had some time last month to meet with Sam to talk about the possibility of the city of Thomasville having a lobbyist in Raleigh. So I know there's been several things that have happened recently that council has not been extremely happy with our legislative body there in Raleigh. So thought it'd be a good idea to have Sam come and share a little bit about the company he represents and how they could possibly help us. So Sam, if you want to come up and share with us, we'd appreciate it.
Thank you, Councilman Thrift, Mayor York, and staff for having me here today. It's always good to be back in Thomasville. I just want to start by giving a little bit of my background because I think that's as important as anything, and it just sort of adds a personal touch to it. I grew up in Fayetteville, never had any family here in Davidson County, did not grow up really coming to the Piedmont region whatsoever, but I've been working in politics and government for 15 years now. I went to college in D.C. at American University, lived up there for 6 years, and sort of by the grace and luck of God, got connected with a man by the name of Ted Budd when he was a year into office. Had no connection to him or his family. He hired me as an intern, and a week later, when I was wrapping up my last year in college, offered me a job. And I spent 7 years with him on staff, 3 in Washington and 4 down here in the state with him, and learned a lot about federal budgeting processes and relationships and people along the way. When COVID hit, I made the decision that I was tired of living 300 miles away from all my family and came back to North Carolina. Probably one of the best decisions I've made in my life was getting out of Washington when I did. But I started coming and being engaged in stuff in your city then, and built a relationship with Mayor York, Michael, and I knew Eddie all the way back when he was at the fire department. I'm not an expert on your community. I don't live here, but I've continued to follow the news, keep some of the relationships and friendships that I have. And when I came here in my last job, it was abundantly clear, I'm in the business of reading relationships professionally. And it was very clear to me that not only the county, but a certain city down the road gets all the love here. But it was abundantly clear to me in my last job that you had a good team in place, not just with council, but with management that, they're like the doctors that run the day-to-day operation in terms of the vision that y'all had, not just with downtown, but in supporting local businesses and industry and investment in certain infrastructure projects. Certainly saw the potential that the city had. I want to talk a little bit, and I thought a lot. I've been accused of having the memory of an elephant, whether that's good or bad, but when I came and spoke to council on what it would be like to render professional services last year, I certainly understand that was not the right time for y'all. And the last thing that I would ever want to do is take on a client that's not ready to engage a professional lobbyist, because then they're going to be unhappy and it's not going to be a good partnership. Timing is everything in this business, and I was very humbled that staff and council reached out to me a little over a month and a half ago to have this conversation. But one of the questions that was asked to me when thinking back to the January presentation last year, one of the members of council, and I know not all of y'all were on council at that point, asked me, well, what results have you delivered? And that was a great question, and one that, honesty and integrity are everything in this business. I hope to play in it long term, and that's a question that you should ask any lobbyist or firm that you're going to hire. And at that point, I replied to that particular council member and said, well, I've been at it for 2 months. I haven't been through a state budget cycle. I've delivered nothing. And a year and a half later, my boss and I, Dodie Renfer, she's been at this a lot longer than I have. She's got roughly 40 years and I've got 15, so we're at over 50 years of experience with our firm and government affairs and consulting. We've delivered right over $70 million in a year and a half, and I'm not saying that to brag, but projects like helping local towns and cities with water and sewer, capital infrastructure and transportation projects, helping with economic development priorities and pushing those forward. Done a lot on public safety for police stations, fire departments. I sort of work with a mix of different clients, but if y'all were to hire somebody, area of expertise is extremely important. I contract with 7 different municipalities in the state of North Carolina, the largest being 33,000, the smallest being a population of roughly 800. And all of them, whether it's their boards or needs, couldn't be more different than one another. But I hope to be representing local governments for a long time. It's something I'm really passionate about. I love the structure, I love the projects, love anything tied to infrastructure, and figuring out how to finance something. It's a lobbyist never replaces your legislative delegation. I've known Senator Jarvis and Representative Watford for a long time now. I've had to go to both of them for different things in the year and a half that I've been lobbying, but figuring out how to finance projects with public dollars is, at the state or federal level, it's like an adult version of puzzles. And I never liked doing puzzles, or never had the patience for them as a child, but I like working with my clients to try, and city and town managers in particular, to try to figure out how to connect those dots, bring them to Raleigh, and strategically advise them on what is reasonable and what is not within the internal priorities that the board is trying to achieve. I talked a little bit about myself and my background, some of the successes we had in the most recent state budget. I will say that we're a small firm, and I think that's important. When my city manager or the CEO of a company that I represent or a nonprofit that I contract with call me, they're not waiting a week or 3 to 5 days for me to get back to them. I have a very personal relationship with all of the clients that I engage with, and that's intentional. Most of them hear back within a couple of hours. When my folks call me 8 o'clock at night, 5 in the morning, on the weekend, I get to it. Again, I hope to be in this business for a long time. Reputation's everything. I've talked a lot about our firm and who we are. I do think that it's important for, I think, just your understanding. Lobbying's extremely competitive. There's roughly 600 registered lobbyists in the state. The number of us that go to Raleigh on any given week is even smaller than that. I live in Sanford. I make a point to ride up there every week to work different connections in the building on behalf of the interests that I represent. Just near you, local municipalities with lobbyists, and this is interesting because when I started in the government arena a little over a decade ago, really the only cities or towns that had lobbyists were the big ones. So my hometown of Fayetteville, Charlotte, Durham, Raleigh, that has changed pretty much overnight. Just near you, High Point, Greensboro, Winston-Salem, Salisbury, Lexington, Jamestown, and Gibsonville all have contracted lobbyists in Raleigh that are up there on a weekly or monthly basis doing their bidding for them. And again, it's not to take away. I can't introduce a bill. I can't put anything in a budget, but you work directly with different legislators to try to move projects and priorities forward. I've talked a lot today. I'd rather end it right there and open it up to any questions that y'all have.
Questions from council?
I feel like, fellow elephant, I feel like when we talked in January last time, a question came up about what you would do if you had competing interests within the municipalities or organizations you represent. The one that comes to mind is Senate Bill 889. There were folks who were all about it. And I know here in Thomasville, we were not. So if you had two kind of competing interests, how would you manage that?
That is a great question, and I represent, so I've got business in two counties where there could be two obvious conflicts of interest, and it's all public knowledge, so I'll go ahead and state it now. I represent the town of Clayton, and then the town of Benson and Johnston County. Then down east in Bladen County, I've got Elizabethtown, which is the county seat in Bladen, and then the town of White Lake. There could always be conflicts that arise within particular bills or just nearby, I guess, priorities on projects. With that one, a good rule of thumb and something that we pretty much enforce as a firm is, you go with whatever client signs you first. And I think I told you the same thing last year. When it came to Senate Bill 889, I represent 7 different municipalities. I think you can guess how all of them felt about that. I don't represent a lot of interest in development, real estate, home builders. So I don't know if that helps you at all.
Cool.
Other questions? So if you look in your packet, you can see the contract that has been proposed there, as well as the compensation of what it would cost the city to have them represent us in Raleigh. So obviously we need to talk about what we...
I think it's a good idea.
I guess question for you and maybe Mayor too. Is there a project or a initiative that you're concerned about that you feel like we need some extra representation for?
Infrastructure.
But like our water, which
Water, sewer.
infrastructure?
The problems we're having in the
Turn your
moratorium
microphone on.
pilot. The moratorium that we have in pilot, the sort of hit and miss in Fairgrove area. We've got to do something, and we've got to do it soon, because we've got a lot of people that's how they make their living is building, and they can't build on these lots because they can't get taps. So we need somebody to be lobbying for us to try to get the money to take care of that. Because as you know, what we dealt with Rains Road, how expensive that is.
The thing that led me to kind of prompt the question of should we look at this again was when we were dealing with the items with our state representatives, when we were all trying to reach out and let them know how we felt about certain things. And it was obvious that we were not making any impact there. I told Eddie, I said, maybe it's time, if we can't make an impact, maybe we need to consult with a lobbyist to try to help us with that. Which just prompted us to say, hey, let's talk to him again and bring him to council. It's, of course, a council decision. So,
I guess we've seen a lot of success with Eddie and staff working on funding from the state. Like that hasn't really been a problem or an issue or a barrier. So I'm wondering if this is a necessary step that we need to take right now.
One of the things that I will say, Michael, I don't know if this is close by or if you could prepare this for us. If you look at the state budget and see what other cities are given, it is very obvious that they have a lobbyist. Yeah, they receive more from our legislators. Yeah. Please share.
More than happy. So, Pace here in Thomasville, 50,000. Lexington, 200,000 for capital infrastructure. Davidson County Water, 200,000. Sheriff's Office and Parks Department, 270,000. Airport, 15,000. Booster clubs for Davidson County Schools, 350,000. Davidson County Schools, another 280,000. A lobbyist does not take away from any of the good work that y'all and your management has done. It is to amplify the effort on a weekly basis.
So, can you kind of tell us what your daily routine kind of looks like as a lobbyist?
That's a great question. No one day is alike. When the legislature is not in session, I'm at home reading, looking at different bills, talking with new members that are coming in. Like this year, for example, you have a ton of members in this region of the state down east in the mountains that are retiring, and you have new ones coming in. I'm already working on those relationships in addition to maintaining existing ones. It's all playing the long-term game. The long session will start roughly around January 20th of next year, and I'm not waiting until January. I'm not waiting until December to go ahead and go to local legislators for what I need for my clients. All of that legwork, the homework, the preparation, the strategy session, and individual advice to each client begins right now, because if you wait till next year, you're going to be right there in line with everybody else. So when they are in session, I'm up there pretty much every Tuesday and Wednesday, occasionally Thursday, depending on the schedule that week, in the individual committee hearing rooms, watching bills move and listening to the commentary between members, because the devil is always in the details. Looking and being able to then report back to my individual managers or clients on, hey, this is moving, this is not. Let's not waste our time and effort here, but let's engage this legislator at this time on this issue. Or, hey, I see this moving really quickly. I need you, Michael, and the mayor, whoever, to come to Raleigh immediately to meet with the delegation. It really varies, but I use a lot of the time when they are not in Raleigh to travel to my clients, to get on teams with them, to talk through issues and projects, to see what I can do in the, I guess you could call it, lull time, to move their projects forward and advance them.
Okay, thank you.
So do clients reach out to you with their needs, and then you kind of work with the legislation on those needs?
Great question. So when a client engages me, the first thing I like to do is, within the first really week or two, is I travel to them, sit down. I'm very old-fashioned in how I conduct business. I like to sit down and really walk through the priorities. I might want to go to your wastewater treatment plant, or look at this transportation project we're asking $500,000 or $2 or $3 million for. I don't want to just have surface level information on your project. I really want to know the nuts and bolts of it, so that when I go to Raleigh to do your bidding for you, I'm able to talk about it with confidence and clearly elaborate why the city of Thomasville needs X amount of money for this project and why it's urgent. So I would sit here and there have been times in a strategy session, I'll just, without breaching client confidentiality, I had another engagement want $40 million last year, and that came out during the strategy session. I told that town manager, you're not going to get anywhere near that. But I was able to piece together for that town $5 million on another project that we pursued. So part of that, the onus is on the lobbyist, not so much the client, to level expectations during the strategy session of what's feasible and what's not, because the last thing I ever want to do is overpromise.
Thank you. Other questions?
So I think Councilwoman Williams really hit on a really good point with how we have been working with our deputy director, with really deputy city manager, with being able to access some of the grant funding that we have already secured from our state and some of the federal. So one of my thought processes is how involved would your firm be in that grant process and helping our city staff kind of navigate that, as well as not just navigating, but once we get that grant submitted, how does that process look like with you actually advocating on behalf from both the state and hopefully the federal government, trying to get some of those funds back to us?
Yes, sir. Totally depends on the type of client. With my local governments, I'm not a grant consultant. Grants and lobbying, in my very humble opinion, go hand in hand together. Our firm has a direct partnership with one of the top grant consulting firms in the state, and pretty much when it could be a HUD grant, it could be CDBG, it could be NC Commerce, Golden Leaf. Anytime I have a existing client that needs help on a grant related project, I know exactly who to refer them to because they have a great track record. They're a smaller firm just like us. They work extremely hard for their clients, and they're knowledgeable on deadlines, thresholds, opportunities, points of contact. Really what I do, I guess on the lobbying side, is when one of my town or city managers comes to me and says, hey, we've submitted for Office of State Fire Marshal grant, we need $50,000. I go to their legislative delegation or others to get support letters. There are other entities where I may have personal relationships through my 15 years in the business to where I call a board member or call the head of the organization and say, hey, I've got the city applying for X amount of money. We really need this project. But I don't write grants. That's not my area of expertise. I kind of work it on the back end.
Perfect. That was a great answer. Thank you.
All right, I'm a skeptic of lobbying in general. I don't like it. I don't think it's cool that we have to pay to get the attention from the people who are elected to pay attention to us already. But I know that's not you. You're working within a system that you did not set up.
I don't disagree
So,
with part of that.
I don't doubt it. So what would you say to me?
I would tell you a couple of things. I would say, one, you get what you pay for. I think that I've demonstrated and laid out some questions for y'all to think of in terms of if we are going to move forward with this, is the gentleman we're talking to experienced in the areas that we may need help with, water and sewer, transportation. Does he or her have a track record of working with local governments? If so, have they been able to deliver in the state budget? Do they have relationships at the federal level in case we get stuck, just like we did and didn't have a budget for more than 1 year? I like playing very aggressive, and I'm not using that out of arrogance or spite, but if my client gets into a bind, I'm always trying to think 5 steps ahead of what maybe another lobbyist or firm is doing. This is an extremely competitive industry. I listed some of the local governments just near you that have contracted with outside help. Now, hiring a lobbyist, I'm going to be maybe so honest here with this answer that you may like it, you may not, but hiring a lobbyist is not a silver bullet. If your expectation is let's engage Electus Governmental Affairs or another lobbying firm and immediately get $1 million, do not hire me. I will tell you that. And that may cost me a contract. I don't care. Hope to be here long term. I'm very honest with everybody I represent. This is the long game. It is positioning you and the city's needs in the best possible light in front of decision makers, not just in the halls of state government, but also the agencies. We have a great relationship with many of the cabinet members and the staff that work at the agencies, and you never know when you may get in an issue with NC Department of Revenue, the auditor's office, the treasurer's office, NC Commerce. You just really never know. I hate the saying that having a lobbyist is like an insurance policy, because I'm not just here if you have an emergency. And I don't really work like an insurance man to just talk to you when you have a problem. I'm very engaged with the people I represent. And I think there's this misconception that lobbyists don't really work that hard. They take vacations all the time and they drink champagne and maybe eat caviar every night. That's not what I signed up for. I work extremely hard. I'm invested in the business that I'm a part of, and I wanted to join a small firm that not only had an exceptional reputation, but that was really rooted in strong work, good results, and loyalty. If you don't have that, you have nothing to stand on. So those are a few things that I would tell you. I can't guarantee you success. What I can guarantee you, and you can take this to the bank, is a strong work ethic, loyalty, and commitment to any and every internal city priority that would be tasked by not only the council but by Mike Monetti.
Cool. Thank you.
Sorry for the long-winded answer.
No, appreciate it.
One question, and this might not be to you, but it might be to our council, but have we talked to any other firms? Just talking to one doesn't bring
Sure.
enough information to the table for us to make a clear decision on who to hire and who not to hire.
That's a good question.
Yeah, last year, council tasked us with talking to several different firms, Mayor and I, and Eddie. Michael, you were a part of that too. We met with, yeah.
I drink caviar.
Yeah.
Drink caviar and eat champagne.
You drink caviar and eat champagne?
Council had asked us to meet with different firms and bring back a recommendation, which is what we did. We brought Sam last year as well. This year, we also met with a few different firms, and based on what we heard in those meetings, we felt like Sam would be our best option. But we're happy to bring those before council if we need to.
I would love to see some of those other ones, just to make sure, like Councilwoman Dana said, make sure the process, one, is open and transparent, with making sure we're ensuring that we're doing our due diligence, but also to see with some of those other ones, because I know we definitely do have some local lobbyists here as well, and I think that's equally as important as well, to be able to have people that are already in your community doing some of that work, and seeing and comparing that with this amazing presentation that we also had today. And I do appreciate really you doing your research and bringing us back some of those hard facts and numbers this morning. That was really good.
Good deal. All right, Sam. Thank you,
Thank you.
for coming and presenting to us today.
Thanks,
you.
Sam.
If you will, if you want me to get with you and Eddie, and we get those places scheduled.
Yeah, and if you have other lobbyists that you know of that you want to be included in any sort of review, let us know who they are. 'Cause
Just send it to us.
like he said, there's only a couple thousand, a couple hundred of these.
All right, good deal. Okay, I'm going to jump back up to item number 2, which is consideration approval of budget amendment 2027-P2-01. I'll recognize our finance director this morning.
Good morning, Mayor and Council.
Good morning.
As we discussed at last month's committee meeting, this amendment actually brings to fruition the transfer of funds from pay-as-you-go capital in our current budget to fund 4 of the positions that were included in the initial hiring freeze. That's 2 police officers, a parks and recreation worker, and a streets laborer position. So this is 4 out of the 11. The total transfer amount is $214,403, which includes rescinding the capital funding for a boat trailer in the fire department, new computers in the MIS department, child care building renovations, and a truck in the recreation department, and a garage door range and sprayer at the golf course, also in the recreation department. So if you're on board with that, we'll need to move this to briefing.
What's the pleasure of the committee?
Make a motion to move to briefing.
Second.
That has been moved to briefing. All right, item number 3 is discussion of the new finance dashboard.
The city manager requested we revise and simplify the monthly financial reporting we provide to you all. It's currently about 50 to 60 pages or so for the revenues and expenses monthly. This would condense it into basically a 2-page dashboard for the revenues and expenses, one for each fund, the general fund and the water and sewer enterprise fund, which included revenues and expenses. It's a copy is in your packets. Believe this is a template he used at a previous employer. Our financial analyst, Jennifer Anderson, is in the audience. She's been able to actually replicate this dashboard with data from our financial system. She's worked hard on that to put it into this format. As you can see, it's a much condensed summary, and it provides all of the relevant information. We can always, upon request, provide some more in-depth documentation if you'd like to see it monthly. But I think everybody's on board that this would reduce the amount of paper that you get in the packet, and would be an added addition, a great addition to the monthly council.
I love this.
Would you tell us what the colored dots represent on
The colored dots represent, so for instance, if we are on the positive side for revenues, if we've brought in more than our budget, you're going to see a green. If we're under budget, you'd see a red. If we're trending in the first column with the difference is essentially based on the amount of revenue divided by our total budget at this time last year, And if we're ahead of that this year from a trending perspective, you'll see a green there. Under, you'll see a red. And this does fluctuate monthly. I wouldn't get too worried about individual indicators each month. You know, we have our finger on the pulse of this quarterly, and so if there are any issues, we'll let you know as well if we don't think we're trending the way we need to on revenue, or we're trending from a negative perspective on expenses.
Now, would this, oh, sorry, Mayor. Would this replace our normal, what we get, or is this just going to be an added addition?
It'll replace the revenue and expenditure documentation you get monthly, which is about 50 or 60 pages. You'll still get a trial balance of all the accounts, balance sheet accounts and revenues and expenditures, but it will replace the revenues and expenses. And again, if you do want to see the old version, you can reach out to the finance department. We can always provide that if you wanted to see it.
Does this represent the figures here, the amount that came in July?
The one in your
the tax
packets is an
department?
example from May of last year, but she did get July's in for your.
Yeah, I have the current,
Okay.
the first month.
Uh-huh.
So it seems to me that this probably reflects a much lower collection rate in July because of the delay in getting bills out. Maybe
believe so.
to
Bills have not
mortgage-
even
to
gone out.
mortgage companies and things like that.
Correct.
That you would generally get in July.
Correct.
And a lot
The
of
bills
those
are set to go out in mid-August, and normally they would have already been sent out by now.
So this is probably much less than we would normally expect to see.
I wouldn't worry about the
through
property
July.
tax figure right now. Yeah,
Yep,
definitely maybe a
that's
couple
right.
of months from now, but not right now.
What it's trying to do is, with the data that we have that was used to create this, is that instead of just dividing the year up into 8% monthly parts, it looks at the overall expenditures as it flows through, and revenues as it flows through the year, so that you get a more accurate review. Because in some we pay all of our insurance, property insurance first. So a lot of departments have a lot higher expenditures because we're paying all those first. So maybe at 15 or 16 or 20%. But as the year goes on, those expenses are now taken care of, and we move further into the year, that moderates. Revenues are the same way. You know, every month we get different monies, but we don't get utilities except for quarterly. So there's a big, you know, so you'll see a zero for utilities for 3 months, and then suddenly we'll get money. ABC doesn't finish to the end of the year and pay out. So things like that get adjusted by the work that Jennifer is doing to account for that, so that when you look at the comparisons year over year, it's a little bit more accurate. So you can see exactly what the mayor just pointed out. Something's going on in the property tax. Now, if we didn't know that there was an issue with property tax, we'd be like, huh, that's odd. You know, people aren't paying their property tax. We need to watch that. But we know what the issue is. It's because the bills haven't been made. Now, if we get to January and we're still significantly under, you know, then there's cause to worry. But that's what this will help us show, versus just looking at it as a monthly, you know, accounting of it without taking in that previous year activity as a balance.
That's really cool. Is this just in Excel?
It is in Excel, yeah.
Amazing.
It comes from multiple reports that come out of our system. It's not easy to put together.
I was about to say, certainly not.
Looks
You're a
easy, but
wizard.
it's not.
The easier it looks, the more complicated it is
Right.
on the back.
That's crazy.
Any other questions about that? All right, thank you for sharing that with us.
Very cool.
And no action is needed on that.
Yep.
It's not a formal item, so thank you.
All right, item number 4, consideration of revised capitalization and depreciation policy.
Essentially, and this will be effective as of July 1st, 2027, but we have it prepared. Jennifer worked hard on this as well. Finance determined the need to revise our existing capitalization and depreciation policy. An example is included, of our current policy is included at the back of that item in your packets. We needed a policy that was clearer, more thorough, and that incorporated new Governmental Accounting Standards Board requirements set after our existing policy was last revised and approved by you all in February of 2020. The latest revision was obviously prepared by Jennifer, as I mentioned. It's based on the existing industry standards and new GASB requirements for capitalizing leases and subscription-based information technology arrangements. In general, a capitalization and depreciation policy defines which business purchases are recorded as long-term assets, meaning they're capitalized, not expensed in the year in which you purchase it, and which are immediately expensed that year. It establishes objective thresholds and useful life criteria, spreading the asset's cost across its lifespan through depreciation to accurately reflect the value on our financial statements. A solid capitalization and depreciation policy sets clear rules for how the organization handles these types of long-term purchases, and it avoids guesswork, which can lead to inconsistent treatment and errors in financial reporting. So, as you can see, it's much more thorough. It defines categories for our city purchasers and department directors, and essentially what we did is just modernize this. We created a new category for intangible assets such as software. In the past, we've used $10,000, which is the same threshold for equipment. We're now taking that to $50,000, which better represents the average cost of such agreements that we've entered into the last few years. And it's also under our materiality threshold, which is basically what the auditors look at to determine what they're going to review. Our materiality threshold is $60,000. So we have run this by our auditors. They see no issues with it. It's a much improved policy. And again, since we're having it approved now, the only caveat is it will not go into effect because we've already started the fiscal year. You need these policies to be consistent for an entire fiscal year, July 1st to June 30th. So you're going to go ahead and approve it in August, but we will not implement it until July 1st, 2027. Are there any questions?
Questions?
No.
All right. What's the pleasure of the committee?
Move the briefing.
Second.
That has been moved to briefing. Thank you,
Thank you very
Thomas.
much.
Appreciate it.
Thank you, Thomas. Thank you, Jennifer.
Thank you so much.
All right, we've already handled item number 5. So item number 6 is update on the Carver Park and Strickland Center redevelopment. Recognize our Parks and Rec director. Yeah, looks really good.
Good morning, everyone. How are y'all doing? We'll try to get the tech working here. It should. Last time my iPad acted funky, so I got nervous about it. There we go. Okay. All right. So I put together a little bit of presentation for everyone on the process of the Carver Park and Strickland Center renovation update, and I wanted to go over the entire conceptual process of what we've been through. I know a lot of you have been involved with that, so I appreciate it, and the support of what we've done with the community to get to where we are today. The first thing I wanted to talk about briefly were the engagement efforts with the surveys and the different community groups and focus groups that we hit during the process. I know that was a concern prior to the conceptual design, and we really wanted to make sure that we got the community involved with the option to participate within our survey process online, plus the in-person surveys and activities that we did at the center. As you can see, we had some folks, the left side of the screen is the Reginald Strickland Center Community Engagement Report. This was a very innovative community engagement where folks came in, received money, and they put money in pots where they would prefer to see it, engage with our design team with different examples of what could be at the park. And then the right side of the screen are the demographics from our online surveys. We had a little over 100 plus attend the on-site center, and then over 200, right at 200 participants for the online survey as well, to get engagement from the different ages for input of what folks would want to see at the renovations for the park and at the center. So that actually is something that we were pretty happy with, and got a very diverse age group of participation with our online survey, so that was neat to see. But we added some photos. As you can see, this is the engagement process at the center. Community members came out, and within there you'll see boards and different stations that they were able to see examples of exterior concepts, park concepts, as well as interior concepts. And they were able to walk through the room at their own pace, discuss with our design team of what could possibly be. But it was also a good opportunity for us to just speak to the community about the entire initiative and why we're addressing the Strickland Center and hoping to improve it, obviously, into the future for our community. We also did the localized focus groups. Those were held here on site where we had some stakeholders and staff. Our recreation committee were involved in that process. We also had staff and community members involved in the process and some of the folks from our community who actually grew up using the park and were able to come and give perspective on the history of it, as well as their experience there and what they would like to see in the future. Just to note, really neat about this, 3 individuals in this picture: Jerry Hines, most of you know, lifeguarded at the former Carver Park pool. Willie Baxter in the Burgundy was a part of the Reginald Strickland committee that put together renaming the facility that was on site for Reggie Strickland. And then Reggie's dad is actually there in the blue. That's Mr. Kyle Richardson, and he is a proud senior club member as well. So he was able to participate in those focus groups, which was really neat to hear their perspective on the process. So, and just to get everybody updated again on the site and what is there, currently this is the facility that we're looking to move on from in the concept of the new facility. This is a brick structure that is an enclosed metal building from the former Memorial Park that was moved to Carver Park in the late 40s. It was bricked in then in the late 40s and has served the community ever since for the last 70 plus years. It has done very well for our community. But as you can see, the gutter system sits on top of the exterior. That's because it is a brick facade. It's not a real brick building. And it is why we had to look, we're at an impasse for the facility. It's not expandable or buildable upon. Interiorly, it's a low ceiling with tile floor, open space, and restrooms in the rear, small kitchenette and things in the back. And on the wall, you'll see some ability to honor Reggie and his legacy for our community. But it is also a smaller building that sees a lot of use and has a lot of history in our community. But it has reached a point where it's no longer updatable. So that's where the council has tasked us to go with this concept. So any questions about the surveys or any of that before we move to the concept?
I would just say it was a great turnout when we had the community meeting down there where they could give their input. There was a constant stream of folks who came in and gave their input. It was really nice to see.
Definitely, and no questions, but I definitely appreciate how intentional you have been with really including each of these members that you're talking about within this process, ensuring that their voices are heard throughout it. We were talking about it in the beginning, but you've really done an amazing job at being intentional about it, so I wanted to make that comment as well, Corey. Great job.
Thank you. And we owe a lot of, we have a great design team that have a lot of experience with it and helping us do that, and our staff have been great about getting out and getting the word out to folks to be a part of the process. So we are on a schedule, and obviously with the local commerce funding and the things that we're helping to or utilizing to help make this process come to fruition, we're on a tight timeline. We understand that, but we have completed the concepts and are working on our probable cost and our delivery package, hopefully to even bump up. You see that October 1st, we're hoping to even bring that tighter into September to keep us in line with the state grant funding that'll keep this process rolling. So we are a little bit at hyperspeed. This is just a brief overview on the square footage of the facility. We're looking at about a 5,000 square foot facility. When you see the conceptual pictures, everyone's going to see it. They're like, man, that's the Greensboro Coliseum. No, it is a 1,500 square foot multi-purpose event space with some different rooms within it, utilizing the lobby to be a part of the entry and process, along with the history component and telling the story of the park. We have a big opportunity with history walls and things of that nature. Within that, we found some old Kodak Chrome 35 millimeter film that are pictures from Carver Park in the 50s and 60s. Really neat stuff. And a lot of our local community members have things that they can share with us to help make that happen. But I wanted to put the functional areas on here just to make sure we keep that in mind when you see it. 1,500 square foot is very similar to the size of the community room of Ballpark, the Ballpark Community Center. So that's a 1,400 square foot square. This is more of a rectangular space, but that's what I would encourage everyone to keep in mind as we see the conceptual designs. So one thing about the park, and we'll get into it a little bit more. I did get an updated site plan, but we are impacted with some of the funding with the restrictive covenant about the 100-year and 500-year floodplains. The building design was completely outside of that, but what we learned from our team being on site, as well as conversations with our community, is that the center of the park was the pool, which is why your parking lot was designed the way it is, and why it really kind of flows to the middle. So our architects and our landscape engineers have looked at it and thought the best thing to do would be to move the facility to the middle of the park, to help see it from Doak Street, see it when the weather is correct from Salem Street, but also just centralize the main feature of the space. So proximity-wise, and we have a floor plan that we'll hit on, it would place the facility within the center of the park. So without further ado, the first the conceptual design that has been created is this facility here. This is again 1,500 square foot open room. It is a facility where you would enter with lots of natural light, keep the glass theme throughout for more natural light. I would also caution that this is a conceptual design. Our park superintendent saw all the bushes and about collapsed, but I said that doesn't mean we're going to have all those bushes, Randy. But there is obviously some AI functionality to however they design this. But this is the conceptual thought that could fit there and utilize an outdoor patio space to really gain elevation in the park. Carver Park is one of our most naturally beautiful park spaces with the tree line and all the properties that we own on the north side of the creek. In the fall and in the summer and fall, the trees are beautiful. So this would be a great way to incorporate space outside while kind of expanding your footprint of a facility that's a little bit still smaller. One thing that you do see though there is height because of the grade of the park space. When you ride down Doak Street, you want to be able to see it. So right now when you ride down Doak Street and you look, you see our centralized flagpole and then the top of the shelter. So the conversation was a little bit of grading and things could really expose the facility coming down the street there. Another view of it is here. There's more of an entryway there. And again, these are conceptual, but it's something that when you have a smaller facility, what we were getting feedback from the community is you want it to feel open. And one thing that we've learned in this facility, I think these are 12 to 14, and then our other room's about 20 feet. But when you have height in your rooms, you really open up a space that is smaller. So we want to utilize that ability within this facility to make it feel open and inviting for the different type of programming and events that happen on site. So this is a better look at the floor plan and what it would consist of. It would be an entry lobby. I can zoom in here. An entry lobby vestibule with history walls that are added within. If you've ever been to High Point City Lake, their new facility, they did a fantastic job from the conception of that park until the opening of their facility of a history wall that was designed with photos, articles, and local quotes and testimony from our residents. So that's a huge opportunity with the park space and the facility. Entering in, you'd have an office for staff, men's and women's restrooms that have access in the lobby and or the event space, which is a really nice added amenity to where you didn't have to leave your event to use the restroom into the lobby. You could stay within the facility. Warming kitchen, very much in the a la ours here. That's industrial fridges and ability to heat food and cater. Not necessarily an oven at this facility new, but the ability for folks to have their events. And then janitor closet, IT closets, storage closets, and then all that footprint outside. One of the things that with the patio they were discussing is if they grade it and build it correctly, which is what we want, obviously. They better, yeah. Anyways, but you'd have a lot of height. So that hill has a big depth. At some points of that patio, you could feel like you're 40 feet in the air, and you don't get that in Thomasville. In a lot of our park spaces, very linear, flat park spaces, with a view over the creek and that kind of thing. I mean, really, really something that we don't have, which is what we've kind of hit on during the process too. Like, you don't want to build the aquatic center at Carver Park. You want to build a facility with its own, personality and use. One thing that we did learn that was very successful here, though, is the exterior restroom. And so we did ask to incorporate an exterior restroom on the back side of the facility, or the side of the facility. That way, for our park use, you could still have access, the little ones and families could have access to a restroom as we do on the rear of this facility. So we didn't have a restroom at our playground because we constructed this. We do have a restroom at our playground now on the rear of our facility. Any questions on those things? That's more of the building specific, or any comments on the building specific? And I do have an updated site plan because I know we had some floodplain points.
It looks great. I mean, this is.
The Little Greensboro Coliseum.
I am.
It looks massive. It's like
just kind
It
of
looks nice.
thinking about former councils and the current council. I think it says a lot about the direction of our city when we go from several years ago not having a new recreation development or new building constructed in 70 plus years, and now we've got an aquatic center, and we're building something down there in Carver Park. I think it speaks a lot to the vision of our council that we're trying to support recreation and make sure our youth and our community have good things to do in nice places. So good work.
I would like to add
Great for the
that,
community.
yes. I would like to add that it also speaks of unity.
Talking to your mic.
It also speaks of unity in our town, because what it's doing is bridging the sides that never existed before. So I'm very humbled and grateful that this and you all are doing it. I feel like crying. I do. So I'm grateful. Thank you.
From the departmental standpoint, and I know our community standpoint, you can't get things done without a supportive council. So we greatly appreciate y'all's vision and helping us be able to do that. So,
and I love really seeing the idea and really being able to put the vision into reality. Now, I know some of the ideas that we were having at the concept meetings and things, we're trying to figure out what would this space at. Like, I know you're talking about with the views and all that stuff, but when I'm thinking about the programming and things that we will really kind of run out of this for our kids, how we thought about how this space will, and with the design that we've kind of brought up, how that would be conducive with the programming that we're trying to specifically be able to do with the Strickland Center.
Right.
Strickland Center.
Yeah, so the good thing about the space is, and we've talked about that because it is a limited size, but if you do right with the storage and you're functional, we were having some conversations yesterday with staff about the flexibility of TVs on rollers and things to bring in. We have a young men's group that meets. We're starting the cultural arts programming, but we're finding out that we have a lot of with the shift of the Central Rec campus and the side room, we talked about some of the expenditures that were kind of pausing, but our child care is really taking over that rental space, and we talked about that. we're finding that we're programming and we need more areas to put meetings or to put a program that comes. They seek our department out to partner for a program, and then we're finding where and when to put them. The Ballpark Community Center now you've got 3 different veteran groups at it that are meeting. We've got our line dancing classes in the evening and things in the morning with our seniors. So this will be able to be used in a lot of different ways. We've talked about too with the schools potentially with our middle school age. We talked about CIS. Offering an after-school program or things of that nature to even talk about drop-offs with the school system. So, we don't want it to be dormant. Our cheerleaders and things practice at the current Strickland Center. That would be something that would be great to continue, obviously. But we want it to be an active center, and that's why you see some of those staff spaces as well, because you would need that little office for potentially utilizing some of our program coordinator to be on site and be a hybrid. Now, if it was staffed daily, it's the same challenge as the aquatic center. That's the staff person, obviously. But I think too, what you'll see is some of the site plan will show how the park will activate. Because I think what's interesting about this process, and we talked about it previously, is that the park was the ribbon cut in 1948, and it served through the late 70s before the center was renamed to the Strickland Center. However, prior to that, pool programming, Tiny Tots programming, there was a center director on site, Charles Little, that we've learned a lot more about. We hope to kind of focus on. We had great conversations about the first ever center director at Carver Park and honoring his legacy. He died young, which is impactful to some of the folks that came down to share their stories. And it's like, well, that shows that the park was active in itself too. It wasn't just the facility that was active. And so when you see some of the site plan, you're like, okay, well, that investment within the area, it's very similar, to the impact that you see of the site here, is that we had a lot of folks say, well, you built a new playground when we built the aquatic center, but that's the same playground that was here. We just exposed it. So now our site is more active. That playground is more used than ever because of the new construction. And so the facility, I think, would be a catalyst for the whole park to be active. So I do expect to see an uptick in that activity within the facility for direct programming, but also the indirectly managed access. So there's a variety of different things, I think.
And I love that explanation, Corey. And again, just to make sure I'm wrapping my head around it, ensuring. So, because one of the things I was thinking about where really we were talking about with the Strickland Center and how active the community really played a part in the center. Mm-hmm. With this space, are you seeing that this space would allow for that same level of programming? Or are you thinking because this would be more like an event space, more of an open area to allow for us to be able to have more options for people to be able to rent different venues? They were going to have more space over at our central campus to be able to do more of that programming. Like when I'm saying programming, I'm thinking things like computer labs. Because I know at the ideas we had different things where our kids could actually get some of the services and resources that we don't currently have within some of our centers and things like that. So that's what I'm trying to think about.
Through technology, we could be very creative within the facility to not be, so the space, I don't want it to be just a rental facility.
Right.
I don't think that's what it's, not with this investment. That doesn't make sense. But I think that we have to be thoughtful on how you impact the space. Like you couldn't just set up, in my opinion, 4 rows of tables in there that are permanent.
Right.
But how are we functional within our tech? How do you set your tech up to be able to serve a gaming night? Okay, well, if we have some TVs placed within the room as we do here that don't impact, that fit within the facility, there you go.
Yeah.
So use that tech. So tech will be a part of it to be functional for our kids. I definitely think, because one of the things was gaming. I mean, it was like, well, how do you do that? Well, a couple TVs on rollers that come out and take the room over. We're really good. Our staff are really good at flipping spaces and turning them into what they need to be for programming. So while those rooms rent, our young men's group meet in there too. Right. And they use that tech to figure out how, for classes, for activities, for whatever. And so I do think that within this space, it's very similar to the ballpark center, that it can be programmed, and it can be programmed in a variety of ways. I mean, your cultural art class could be held within there, but if you got that many windows, you could be painting the natural land. I mean, you could do a landscape painting with your instructor there on site, you know. So I think I don't think it should be just a rental. I do think it needs to be active, and that's on us to do. I mean, that was the challenge of this facility. Once you build it, you got to operate it.
Well, and Corey, correct me if I'm wrong, my involvement with this project, with being the Parks and Rec liaison for council, I know first plans were kind of to get a site plan and see what the building was going to look like, and then see what of those components we add to the interior based on cost and community needs. So some of the things that were on that survey, like reading nooks or gaming labs, whatever it may be, kind of through the concept, get our building, the kind of our map for the whole park, and then see what of those features we can put in there.
I think we learned, correct. And I think that we learned from this process. I know that Michael led a presentation at our rec conference about how many hats can a facility wear.
Right.
And that's any building that we build. We don't have as many as High Point. We don't have as many as other. Now, we're blessed to have the ones we do, because there are some communities that don't have any. And so, but how many ways can it be used? How many ways can the spaces be used? Is always at the forefront of what we're doing. Because, I mean, this would expand the opportunity for micro camps within the summer. So we are really good at a traditional summer camp. However, now with our new staff person, she's been running, you know, the accessible fun on the runs and those type of things. Well, you could do a week art camp here. You could do a week cooking camp here. You could, these type of things are things that our staff are thinking of, because again, with your support and the investment, it's our responsibility to make sure that we take that and run with it to continue to program. Our program division is a big thing in what we do.
Right.
So we need to make sure we're utilizing those resources to not have an idle facility.
Right.
Make sure the community is being served by it.
Right. And I appreciate that explanation, really, because I really wanted to make sure, with, like you said, with the level of investment that we're putting inside the Strickland Center, I'm really happy that we're being able to get the opportunity to do that. But I think, and part of that, we have to ensure that we're doing it justice by ensuring that this building will be able to be fully functional long after any of us here, even on council or in this room, will be able to really be able to see that. And so that's where I'm asking some of these questions, with being able to think through how we'll be able to see this space, maybe even in the future as well. And I know you said about not having too many hats on the building, and I definitely agree with that. And thinking about, you know, some of that history and then some of the things that we currently don't have already here in the city of Thomasville have. I know some of the people in the concept and meetings and things when I was talking to when I got the chance to go there, were talking about how important that water aspect was down to the Strickland Center. And so currently, since we have such an amazing facility up here at the Aquatic Center, that does make it a little bit more difficult now when it comes to the swim times and things like that, when we have to close pool for maintenance, all the other rest, that our kids are not having, I guess, access to a pool, quote unquote, per se. So have we thought about what kind of similar aspects that we could kind of include in here, if it could be like splash pads or whatever else?
We have talked about the potential, and some of this is cost,
right?
You know, but you know, one thing about this facility here, you know, 7 days a week. Yeah, you know, I think Evander and I did the math the other day. It's 100 days during the summer of access, but you know, but the timely access of like a splash pad. These are within operating hours that you have access. So what we've talked about is potentially the ability. So, and I wish I had the photo not on a 35 millimeter chrome thing, but there was a beautiful fountain on the former pool, and we've talked about hopefully potentially being able to recreate that. Some spray out features are potentially something that we could consider. Where and how that fits on the site, and some of the things that were now impacted by the floodplain is a bit of a challenge, but not something that's not just undoable. But some of the levels of aquatics infrastructure, they can be a straight through water. That's city water spraying out of the ground. That's not recyclable. You're using that water. Then what you get into at other splash pads that are out, similar to the county and other communities that you've seen, like ours here at the front of our pool, are a pool. Once you do that, you build into a cyclical system that's chlorinated, it's running with a CPO. It is operated via aquatics directors and things of that nature. But there are ways that the water could be implemented, and we've had those discussions, and I mean we can bring that up for sure, but because that was something that the community has mentioned. Right. Mm-hmm. I appreciate it. Yeah, of course.
Any other questions? All right, thank you, Corey.
I do want to point out there is a limited. I know that $3.2 million is a big number, but it's not that big when you're looking at this type of development. So this is going to be a phased project. Sure. We're going to do as much of it as we can, with the building being the primary point. But everything, anything that's a significant cost is a phase 2, phase 3 situation. There's nothing being planned on the north side of the creek. We're not even sure if we can build a bridge across it. So there's a large piece of land that's way out in the future, and again, because of the floodplain stuff, we're having to move things around. There's going to be a cost involved. There's also a lot of topo that we have to address, and walls cost money. Retaining walls cost money. So just take that in. Take that all into it, because our main focus is to get the Strickland Center rebuilt, and then the other functions keep as much functionality as possible. But this is going to be a phased event, unless. And just hire somebody and get some more money.
Briefly, that is the site design that came in late afternoon after the 500 year. If you see the light area here, that is your 500 year floodplain. So those are the things that are impacting due to the funding, kind of shifting the space where you may have a natural trail system down in the kind of gully area is what I kind of call it, down in the gulch. But then it transitions the park and potentially replaces the playground where the facility used to be, adds a basketball court at the other end. But as Michael said, and I would, from our experience here, there is elevation and site work challenges here, but some of the reconfiguration could add close to 60 to 70 parking spots and more centralized location. And as you see the rain garden there and things of that nature are ways to offset some of the things, because you don't, it's not the fancy stuff, but the watershed has to go somewhere off the facility. So you can't put that down in the floodplain. The floodplain is big, but it was not the end of the world it's actually an opportunity just to adjust. We just pivot a little bit. So
exciting stuff. Cool. All right, thank you, Corey. Yeah. I appreciate it.
Thank y'all very much.
All right. Item number 7 is presentation of Thomasville Main Street updates. I'll recognize our city manager.
Thank you. Tammy Joyce is actually at a Main Street program conference that started today, so she is not able to be here. I'm trying to get to her report. And at that conference, she's making an annual report on our Main Street program that what obviously was a draft form, so she didn't want to submit it to you yet. So that will be presented in September. She did have a couple of items that she wanted to point out to you. The event at the Women's Club 2 weekends ago generated almost $20,000 in donations for the Palace Theater, which is allowing PACE to hire an architect to do more of the interior design work. It was very successful. I know some folks were there. I'm sorry, I think I just blew by when I was looking for it. So that was very exciting. We had a ribbon cutting yesterday for the new hot dog place. Big Chair Dogs, not Chair City. It's Big Chair Dogs. that went into where the antique store used to be, down below Commerce. The other properties are still being developed that have the facade covers on them. They're still being worked on. They're having to, get architects and get some engineering work done on those properties. But effort is continuing. There may be news regarding a sale of an important property downtown that's been for sale for a long time. That maybe have a change of ownership. Hopefully it'll continue to be an active site in our downtown. I don't want to disclose that because I don't have permission to disclose it. But that's a good news. And then we're still working on the Pace Park. We'll have a complete update for you on Pace Park Phase 1 in the September's meeting also, to show where that project is moving towards. And hopefully we'll be doing some bidding work on that. I know we'll be doing bidding work come this fall on that project. So those are the updates from Main Street.
Did she give us any update about the candy store or that building?
There is someone looking at it. They're looking at second floor housing as a part of the design. So there is someone actively looking at it. But as of yet, there's no official sale and or project.
I know there were quite a few updates they were wanting to do to that building. It needed some significant work done to it. So. All right, thank you. Next item is our economic mobility update. So I'll recognize our economic mobility program manager.
Good morning.
Good morning.
City Council. Emma is going to be passing out like an updated version of our deck. I added a couple of things that I failed to do that at the beginning.
Thank you.
And then I'll have a couple of two different flyers that you'll see that we'll talk about this morning. So you'll see Emma Anderson. She is our Economic Mobility Program intern. She's been with us this summer. Her last day will be on the 15th of August for her first phase, but we'll talk a little bit more about that here soon. So I wanted to kind of go back to the basics and kind of understand what my position is, what do we do, how important it is, and why am I here, right? A lot of people don't know what I do. I've referred to as, do you do wheelchairs? Because you mobilize people. So I wanted to make sure and take the opportunity to make sure that we continue talking about this because it's not a concept that is everywhere. In North Carolina, there's only 2 of us right now doing this concept, which it's always existed. It's just never had an actual title. So economic mobility connects residents with opportunities to help them advance. That's the gist of it. It matters because equitable access empowers residents to thrive and belong. And once we're thriving and belonging, we're going to make our they're going to move up the economic mobility scale. What does it mean for Thomasville? It means that residents have better access to resources, information, and pathways to stability, meeting them where they're at, no matter where they are. It also means connecting residents and small businesses to more training, visibility, funding opportunities, and connection. It also helps build city systems, which provides for stronger partnerships, clearer communication, and data-informed decisions, and creating a long-term impact where community-informed priorities can be tracked, improved, and sustained. In summary, economic mobility works to help the city move from individual programs to a coordinated strategy that is beneficial to all of our residents. The main goal, really, is to identify what residents need most, align partners around those priorities, and turn momentum into measurable outcomes. Economic mobility uses the Urban Institute's upward mobility framework that you see up here. For those of you that you might not know, the Urban Institute is a nonpartisan research organization in Washington, D.C. that provides data and analysis to help policymakers, leaders, and communities tackle complex social and economic challenges. This framework gives local leaders a data-driven tool to measure, plan, and improve social and economic mobility from poverty while centering it in racial equity. And here are, we just came up with demographics for Thomasville, kind of like telling you what Thomasville looks at a glance, where we can see that Thomasville is a home to nearly 28,000 residents and reflects a diverse, multi-generational community. This data helps us better understand who we serve and ensure our programs, partnerships, and services respond to residents' needs. What we're doing right now, these are our programs right now that we have. So we have our internship program. So Economic Mobility internship program gives students hands-on local government experience while supporting research, outreach, events, and program development. This is what Emma has been doing with us since she joined. We've also been having the Launch Avanza Thomasville class, as you are very well aware of it. Emma is right here next to me because she will present to you about what we're doing in Launch and where we're going with that or the next steps on that. Our co-design. So this is a new initiative. Co-design is really engaging with residents, not community leaders, but residents that are actually going through different barriers. They, in turn, instead of doing surveys and getting paper surveys, because you're never going to get who really needs the services the most to fill out those surveys, they actually go into the community within their own networks that have those barriers, which it could be home, it could be work, it could be education, it could be anything. So they go and have these conversations in depth with different folks, and then we kind of provide for them to do this many times as we need in order for us to come up with a final plan. And we'll talk a little bit more about co-design here in a second. Another initiative that we're doing is we're partnering with the lien property. So we are looking and analyzing the properties that have existing liens. We're kind of looking at what they need, whether they may be connections to the Good Neighbor program, whether they need to be given the information on the toolbox initiative, whether we need to acquire those properties and then, go with our partner like Home Solutions of Davidson County to help us repurpose the ones that have an existing structure. If they are vacant, so there's like 4 different pots on that. So we're starting that process. We'll have more updates to follow throughout the rest of the year on that. And then, of course, we also do department collaboration, where economic mobility is really embedded in all of the departments to make sure that we're reaching every single resident in all aspects of this. Our internship program, we have Emma, who has joined us from NC State University. She is a rising senior. She's conducted the analysis for Launch Avanza Thomasville. She supported the program development and evaluation, and she's demonstrated exceptional professionalism, initiative, and strong ability to learn quickly. What's next for Emma? She is going to continue her internship with us remotely through the month of December. She will have less hours, but she will be working with us on different programs that we still can, she can help me collaborate and finalize and bring to fruition. So she'll be with us until December. So we're very excited that she's accepted that and that we continue to have this impact with her. And now she is going to come up here and discuss a little bit about what Launch Avanza is.
Good morning, mayors, city council members, city staff, and everyone in attendance. Like she said, my name is Emma Anderson, and I'm a rising senior majoring in environmental science at NC State University. This summer, I've had the amazing opportunity to intern with the city of Thomasville under Adelia in the Economic Mobility Office. When I first accepted this internship, I expected to spend most of my time working behind the scenes on administrative tasks. While I certainly do that, my experience has become so much more than I imagined. I help coordinate many aspects of the Launch Avanza program, making sure documents are organized and accessible, assisting with program logistics, and communicating with our cohort participants to ensure everything runs smoothly. I also want to mention that I've had the opportunity to work on a separate project with Michael, which also has allowed me to broaden my experience further. What I didn't expect was how invested I would become, not only in the work itself, but in the people in the community. As someone who's grown up in Thomasville and went to East Davidson High School, this internship has given me real professional experience and allowed me to build a more meaningful connection with Thomasville. It has also opened my eyes to career paths I've never seriously considered before, especially within local government. I've seen firsthand how local governments can create opportunities, strengthen communities, and make a lasting difference in people's lives. Many of you may already be familiar with Launch Avanza, but for those who aren't, I'd like to share a little bit more about what makes this program so special. Launch Avanza is a free 8-week small business accelerator designed to help current and aspiring entrepreneurs turn their ideas into successful, sustainable businesses. Throughout the program, participants receive business education, mentorship, financial literacy training, networking opportunities, and access to valuable community resources. They develop business plans, refine their marketing strategies, strengthen their financial knowledge, and prepare to confidently present their businesses during a pitch competition. The impact of this program goes far beyond the classroom. Strong small businesses create jobs, strengthen our local economy, and build vibrant communities. When local entrepreneurs succeed, Thomasville also succeeds. Programs like Launch Avanza gives individuals the knowledge, confidence, and resources they need to build businesses that not only support their families, but also contribute to the long-term growth of our city. The results speak for themselves. Since the program began, we've celebrated 60 graduates, awarded 23 grants, and invested a total of $34,000 into local entrepreneurs. Those numbers represent much more than statistics. They represent dreams becoming reality, businesses opening their doors, families creating new opportunities, and people believing in themselves. One of my favorite things about Launch Avanza is that it doesn't end after graduation. Even after participants complete the 8-week program, we continue to support them. We host networking events, connect them with community partners, and regularly share funding opportunities, educational resources, and business development opportunities. The relationships we built don't end after 8 weeks, and they continue to grow. Personally, this program has had a tremendous impact on me. I've joined the team toward the end of Cohort 2, so I wasn't there from the very beginning, but it only took a few days before I found myself fully invested in these entrepreneurs and their journeys. Getting to know these business owners has opened my eyes to everything happening here in Thomasville. I've seen incredible creativity, resilience, determination, and passion. Every participant has a unique story, and watching them support one another throughout the program has been inspiring. Their success has become something I genuinely care about. I want to see every one of these businesses continue to grow and thrive because I know the positive impact they will have on this community. Working with Launch Avanza has given me hope for Thomasville's future and shown me what's possible when people are given right support and opportunities. And thankfully, we're just getting started. Our next Launch Avanza session begins on September 17th, where we will bring both Cohorts 1 and Cohorts 2 for more specialized educational opportunities. Participants will have access to expanded networking, additional community resources, and another exciting pitch competition with larger grant opportunities but a higher level of competition. It's exciting to see this program continue to evolve, and I'm looking forward to seeing what this next chapter brings for both our entrepreneurs and our communities. As I close, I'd like to say thank you. I'm incredibly grateful to Adalia for giving me the opportunity to be a part of this work and for being such an outstanding mentor throughout my internship. I'm also thankful for the City of Thomasville for investing in programs like Launch Avanza and for allowing students like me to gain meaningful and hands-on experience. I've learned far more than I ever expected this summer, and I leave each day inspired by the work being done here. I look forward to continuing my internship in the fall, watching these businesses grow, and seeing Thomasville continue to become an even stronger, more connected, and more thriving community. So thank you all for your time.
She was very nervous about doing this, but she did exceptionally well. She did amazing.
Yeah, you did a great job.
And she has been a true asset. Like a lot of the things that I have that are in my brain that I want to get to, that I can never get to, I can always say, Emma, can you create this? And she will do it in a fly. Like I say, please, can you create this PowerPoint that we need to put in there and use your creativity? I just need to look at it once and it's really, it's elevated my work, and it's allowed me to do more that I need to do.
That's
so
great.
Thank you, Emma, so much. So then I did want to mention one other aspect of Launch Avanza. That even went into what some of the judges that we had were from the Rotary Clubs and Lions Club, and they were really excited to kind of see this. One of the things that we will have coming up is we'll present the top 6 winners during the Rotary meeting on August 26th. They'll be able to provide a lunch for them to showcase some of their talents with, you know, the 3 of the ones that we have for food, and then others are going to be participating in that by giving some giveaways. They're really excited. They get to present about 2 to 3 minutes, which helps them even more with whatever they're going to be coming up in pitch number 2 in the end of the fall. So we're really excited for those opportunities, and for the rest of Thomasville to believe in this program, to continue building on it, because I think it's still kind of evolving. We're bringing more things. We're doing more connecting with the school systems now, trying to make sure that we have that workforce. I've learned about a new program yesterday that we'll try to kind of see what we can do with that with our small businesses. So it's been a great opportunity. But back to what co-design is. So this is our new initiative, one of the things that we're working on. I want to make sure, right, that we understand what co-design is. It took me about 5 meetings, because we are in the cohort that I'm in for special assistance. We're actually the first cohort to implement this, because we all need to be implementing this. But they're still working on a guide for this, and it's not an easy concept to understand, because normally when you think about community engagement, you think about surveys, you think about these different things, and this is a really intentional way to do it. What does it mean is residents identify their experiences, needs, and barriers to economic mobility. They combine the knowledge and data, their knowledge and the data that we have out there with the Urban Institute, with the census data. There's a lot of different components to that. And then we also have what is called a work group. So we'll have the co-design team, which is made out of like 10 to 12 residents that we're identifying. Who I'm going to this is our housing authority, Home Solutions, DC Connect, some of those folks that really work with some of these folks that have been in the barriers, currently are in barriers, and they kind of say, well, in a perfect world, if Thomasville did this, it might help me go here. And then that's what we're gonna gather from them, going out and having these deep, meaningful conversations. And then we co-create solutions. Participants directly identify Thomasville's top priorities, and what we're trying to get out of this co-design process is that they're gonna help me identify the top 3 priorities for economic mobility, and how we can implement programs or enhance some of the programs that we already have in place for this. What it does not mean, and we will be very clear about this, is that it does not mean that participants approve city policy or control city funding. Final decisions remain with the city leadership and the city council. However, it ensures that the recommendations are shaped by the people who experience issues and understand the community, meaning that we are going to get their input rather than us thinking, well, let me examine all this data and this is what we think we need to do. We're getting input directly from our citizens. What we're going to be doing in this co-design process is that next week, I'm in the process of finalizing the folks that are going to help us with this. Some of the funding that I have for my position allows me to give some stipends to some of these folks, because these folks are, they're experiencing a lot of different issues. So for them to come out and me asking them for 2 hours and 5 hours, we are going to be giving them a stipend for participating in the meetings. How we come up with this stipend and the guideline that I've been given is that we look at the livable wage here in Thomasville, and we kind of adjust it along those lines, so we do it at an hourly rate. So they're not only going to be compensated for coming to the meetings like for 2 hours. We need to identify what barrier they would have in order for them to come. So if it's childcare, can I pay the babysitter directly? If it's gas, can I give you a gas card so you can get here? We will provide them a meal, and then we'll task them with some questions for like a couple of weeks, and we'll say, hey, these are the questions that we want to know about. Go and engage with people, have deep, meaningful conversations. It's not a checklist. They come back, and then they'll be given up until 5 hours with a stipend as well, and they'll come back to us. They'll give us this data. This data will be in turn then given to a work group, which will include some of those agencies that are looking at these issues already, which will give them even it's sort of like co-creating an ecosystem within us that nobody is doing things solos, but we're like getting that information, we're giving it to the agencies that provide some of these services, and then they're going to come up with more questions. And then we task them again and again. So we do this through the whole, through August through October. And by November, we should be able to build a consensus and develop goals, strategies, partnerships, and measures of success. So then we will finalize our framework, our economic mobility framework that we'll use. But the economic mobility framework, how we're going to do it is very intentional. It's not going to be just for the 18 months that I'm here, right? Because that could be easy. I could do a quick win and we'll be happy. But what happens after that? We want to make sure that we develop a framework that is intentional, that we can use over and over again in order for us to gather those projects. So we will have that at the end of this. So that's co-design. In terms of department collaboration, what we've done is we've collaborated with the fire department. We have done some work with the Mexican firefighters, as well as a collaboration with the fire marshal's office, where they had a checklist. We kind of looked at it to make sure that it was translated into Spanish. That way, when they go, they can just give them the checklist in Spanish, and they avoid that back and forth conversation, and it makes it more efficient for them. With the police department, we're really excited because we'll have a really long day. Emma will have a really long day today because we will be at the National Night Out with our economic mobility office as well during National Night Out. And with the purchasing department, we also did the vendor fair with the first one. It was very well received. I did get some comments and feedback back. They all really enjoyed it. They liked the collaboration. They especially enjoyed the fact that leadership was there. They were able to be in one room, and they were really surprised that all of them showed up. So they were really, really excited, and I think it was a fantastic event. With Downtown Thomasville, we're working on different groups and cities so we can make sure that some of these businesses, like Big Chair Dogs, they were a recipient to one of our grants. They were our second place grant, so they won $2,500 in this round. It was great. And then we also are working with what the Palace would look like for the Christmas stuff, that some of our vendors from our launch program will go in there, and we're identifying those as we speak. And then, of course, we did the first proclamation with Downtown Thomasville to support and promote local businesses in May, so that we'll keep that in mind going forward. Looking ahead, we have our co-design kickoff meeting process on August 12th. We have our Thomasville Ice Cream Social. In order to prepare them for the Group 2, Session 2, we've invited everybody. So I welcome you to all come. Please come, at least just pop in. It's really important. I often get asked, where is the city council, right? And I always say, but they already believe in this because they invested in this. But I think sometimes when seeing you at an event, sometimes people think that you're like unreachable and untouchable because it's intimidating. To reach out to a city council, especially if you don't have like that connection. So coming to these events would be very, very, very welcoming. Even if you just pop in for 5 minutes, it doesn't matter. You don't have to stay for the whole time. It's very informal. There's no presentation. So I welcome you to come to that. I'm also excited to tell you that I will be presenting at the National Economic Mobility Conference at the ICMA. I will be one of their speakers. Actually, in our cohort for National League of Cities, I'm the only speaker for that. I submitted our program, and they picked us, so I get to speak at that event about it. So I'm very, very looking forward to it and excited. Yes, so I'll make sure that I report back with our findings. And I get a whole 45 minutes, so I'm excited. They asked me if I was able to fill the 45 minutes. I said, yeah, no worry. I'm sure you know by now. And our Launch of Balance Ascension will start on September 17th through October 8th. I welcome you to come at any point in time. Our meetings are from Thursdays from September 17th through October 8th. From 6:30 to 8:30. Even if you just pop in, kind of see what we're doing, get a feel of it, because I think a lot of these folks, if you have access to them or the leaders that are within your networks, it's really, really important that they continue to support this because we get different opportunities for our program, and that's how we grow it. Our pitch competitions will be from the 15th through the 22nd. Again, when you come to these things, you don't have to stay for the whole 2 hours. A pop in for the first 15 minutes would be more than enough. So thank you so much. I appreciate
Thank you.
your time.
Yeah.
And I did forget to say, we, our awesome intern also made this flyer, which is what we're gonna be giving out during National Night Out. If you have anybody that wants to be part of Launch Avanza for next spring, what we're doing is we're already building our registration form and our base. We already have about 10 to 20 people that want to join, but make sure that you give out this flyer. This is the code for them to register. So thank you so much.
Thank you so much, Adelia.
Yep.
And where's the location that these meetings are going to be held for the?
The meetings for the fall are going to be, so far, it depends on how many people we're going to get, because from the first cohort, and I'm sorry, I forgot about that, the 22 from the first cohort and 37. So we were maybe looking at the ballparks to do those the last time that I was speaking to Molly about it, because this might not be sufficient for that. But I will have those details within the next few weeks.
Thank you.
Thank you so much.
Thank you. Good deal. All right, we're going to deviate from our agenda. I'm going to ask that Personnel Finance recess and switch over to Transportation, since we have a guest here for a presentation.
Motion to recess Personnel Finance.
Thank you. We are recessed.
All right, I'm going to call the Transportation Committee